So let me ask you this following question, because I think this is what may have motivated a few of you to get involved. If the purpose of government is to provide an environment within which we can have life, liberty, and the opportunity to pursue happiness, do you think that it is the proper role of government to try to give you happiness with money borrowed from China? I don't think so. And to tell you the practical implications of that, let me ask, how many of you in this audience are under 30? Now, ladies, I'll have a little wiggle room for some of you. Okay. Few people are under 30. Okay. Sir, what's your name there in the back?
Sean.
John? John or Sean?
Sean.
Sean. Sorry, it's a few too many times in tanks. Okay, so, Sean, did you know that your burden for paying back Mr. Obama's stimulus package from last year will be the equivalent of you having to buy and throw away every month one iPod for the rest of your life? You feel better now? That's what it is. That's the practical implication for our children and our grandchildren. That's what we have done to them. That's the legacy that we're giving to them with one of Mr. Obama's programs that Barbara Boxer supported. One. Ladies and gentlemen, I know you know this. That's why you're here, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Now, we've discussed the purpose of government. Let me talk very briefly about what's at stake in this election and why I think, especially with Scott Brown's victory last night, we can make a difference and we can win here in California. And then we'll take some Q&A, because I know that most of you would probably not come away satisfied unless you could try to have a piece of me, right? Because most politicians are pretty good at giving you your talking points, and then their entourage surrounds them and they leave before you can ask them a tough question. I don't do that. We can beat Barbara Boxer, and I really do. I try not to say her name, so I'm sorry if I make anything upset. And whatever you do, just don't call her ma'am. We can beat Barbara Boxer not only because of the buyer's remorse that you're seeing with people who enthusiastically, or in some cases reluctantly, back the president, who have now fallen away from him, but also because California has, according to Forbes magazine, the worst climate in the country in which to do business. Now, we don't have the highest taxes in the country. That distinction belongs to New York and New Jersey. But what we have that they don't have is crushingly burdensome regulations that, when added to our taxes, make this the worst place to do business in the country. Now, you can't directly blame Barbara Boxer for that, even though I'm sure many of us would like to. Because she's never been governor and she's never been a state lawmaker. But the people who have made it so are Barbara Boxer's ideological allies. They think like she does. And in fact, she borrows bad ideas from them. Remember AB 32, the Global Greenhouse Gas Reduction Initiative that I argued against on the floor of the Assembly, passed in 2006? Impossible to implement, by the way. Certainly impossible without using modern nuclear power, and without that you can't even begin to address it. But Barbara Boxer is trying to copy that with this cap-and-trade energy tax that will levy on each American family up to $2,000 a year of additional taxes on your energy. Can you afford another $2,000 for heating your home? And you can?
No, we heard that it was $4,000, the last information I got.
Well, maybe it depends on how big your family is and what type of car you buy. Certainly $2,000 at a minimum, maybe even more. I guess it depends on how she writes the bill. Well, naturally, she got this bad idea from the California legislature. And so, because of how bad things are in California, we have the 4th highest unemployment rate in the country. What you're going to see is Barbara Boxer, and there I said her name again, having a rough time justifying another 6 years in office. You know, she's already been on Capitol Hill 28 years. 10 years as a member of Congress and 18 years in the Senate. And her chief distinction is a member of Congress. How many of you can remember? I allude to it in one of my bumper stickers in the back. It says, "Bounce Boxer, vote Devore." What did she do? She was the second greatest bouncer of checks during the House check bouncing scandal. Remember that? So that's why I say "Bounce Boxer" on a bumper sticker that bears the back. Yeah, it's kind of fun. So because of that, we have an opportunity. And further, technology is different today than it used to be. Campaigns are run differently. We have Al Gore's invention. And doesn't it feel good to use Al Gore's invention against him? So times are different, and we can win. Now, we got a little challenge here between now and June. I'm running against two much better known Republicans. And we're going to see some polls that are probably going to look, not the best in the next couple of months. But let me be very clear. I am absolutely delighted with the fact that I'm running against Carly Fiorina, the former CEO of Hewlett-Packard, and against former Congressman Tom Campbell. I am utterly delighted. Why? A little competition never hurt anyone, does it? And in that competition, what do you suppose is going to happen to my name identification? And what do you suppose is going to happen to our volunteer team and to our general campaign effort? It's going to get stronger. We have already raised $1.2 million from over 20,000 people. That is a record in California politics, and someone running for governor on the Republican side. This is what's really important about it. For those of you who are CPAs who aren't yet thinking about tax day on April 15th, if you run the math really quick, what's 1.2 million divided by 20,000? 60 bucks, right? That means the average Devore contributor has contributed $60. Do you suppose I'm the tool of the special interest? Now, how does this compare to previous efforts? We've actually raised more money than any Republican at this stage of the campaign going back over 10 years. You have to go back to Matt Fong in '98 to find someone that raised as much as we did at this point. Now, Carly Fiorina, who was given about a $21 million golden parachute or so to leave Hewlett-Packard, says that I can't raise money. She loaned her campaign $2.5 million a couple of months, like a month ago. Of course, you have to spend the money that you loaned your campaign in order for it to have an impact. But she says I can't raise money. And I would argue that we're raising enough, and we're raising money from the people who count, people who actually vote for them. Now, Tom Campbell, on the other hand, as you know, was just recently a candidate for governor. And I think he decided that he couldn't beat the two billionaires in his race, so he got into our race. And again, I can't be more delighted. Let me tell you a couple of things about my opponents to give you something to consider. Remember Proposition 1A that was on the ballot last May 19th?
Yes.
Remember that? You know what it was? It was an extension of the largest tax increase in U.S. history at the state level for 2 extra years. Remember that? Did it pass?
No.
What did it fail by? 2-1, right? Did you all know that I was one of only 3 Republicans on the floor of the Assembly who voted against it and argued against it? I was the only one that argued against it. Did you all know that on the eve of that vote that I was chief Republican whip and that I resigned in protest of the inside deal that was consummated with Republican leaders and the governor? I was so angry over what was done for 2 reasons. Number one, you don't raise taxes in a recession. You're just going to throw more people out of work. How foolish is that? And number 2, the Republican brand had taken a deserving beating in the last few years with the overspending at the White House level with Mr. Bush and at the governor's mansion in California with Mr. Schwarzenegger. And the only thing that we had been consistent on and managed to maintain a scrap of credibility with the voters was taxes. And we threw that away. We threw it away. A lot of people left the Republican Party in disgust. because of the actions of those two chief executives and became to find the states. I bet you I'm speaking to a few tonight.